With lawmakers in both the Senate and the House discussing proposals to deport individuals convicted of fraud, Ilhan Omar is being portrayed by critics as facing serious political risk, with some claiming she is being directly targeted in House legislation because of suspicions involving her husband and alleged questionable behavior. Her husband's personal history has also drawn attention, as reports say he left his wife to be with Omar, with the timing of his separation happening the same day their relationship became public, adding to the controversy. Beyond that, opponents point to multiple lawsuits and repeated accusations of fraud connected to him, arguing that this pattern is why the spotlight has intensified. Some even suggest Omar may have used her husband's company in improper financial ways, including accusations of money laundering, and they often mention businesses like wineries and vineyards, since they can lose money easily and are sometimes claimed to be convenient for hiding suspicious transactions. Her husband has reportedly been linked to ventures such as cannabis businesses and vineyards, and he runs an investment firm that supposedly manages around $60 billion, a figure many find unbelievable and unrealistic. Questions have also been raised about whether these businesses truly exist as presented, with one account describing a woman visiting a supposed Santa Rosa winery location only to discover that what appeared in official filings did not match reality, and according to the claim, there was no actual winery there at all.
See, this is Suite B again. That is the address where Ilhan Omar's winery is. You can see that a different winery is here, punched down to cellars.
What does this note say?
E Street Crew does not make wine here. They were a client many years ago and have ceased operation. Their operating address is linked to this address like all other client wineries because of state and federal filings. So I wonder what else they have to show for it. What do you think about that?
I think they're just trying to keep as much distance between them and their business and Ilhan Omar's as much as possible.
Yeah.
You guys just do a little more research before.
Well, yeah, that's what we're kind of doing right now.
Would you be so kind
This
to
is,
tell
do
us
you know
about
what this place is?
No, that's why we came
It's
down
a
here.
custom crash place. A bunch of people use it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like renting instead of owning.
Yeah.
So,
I see.
So there's like about 40 of us in here
Okay.
making wine.
Yeah, it's
So-
we're just trying to just figure out what is really going on. We see that
Next time, just call because there's nothing going on.
The pastor told us that Punch Down Cellars makes wine for 14 different,
They don't make wine.
or crushes
crush
grapes.
it, you hold it
We
for them?
the winemakers make wine in the same facility.
Oh, cool.
So-
Which because my family, we've been part of members of certain wineries and stuff. So is there like a high-end brand that you guys hold for or anything like that?
You know, I don't own the place.
Okay.
I'm just one of the winemakers.
Okay.
There. And there's a bunch of us
Yeah.
under one roof.
Awesome.
That's all.
What's your winery's name?
I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
But it's not that much.
Oh yeah. Obviously.
They didn't really seem very happy.
No,
Do they have people coming to check this place out or something that they needed to put a sign on it? I mean,
probably.
I haven't noticed it.
I would imagine so because that.
We're thankful to Angela, who went to the Santa Rosa area and posted what she discovered on Twitter. I believe her name was Angela Rose. Based on her account, the location didn't seem like a classic vineyard or family-run winery, but more like a shared production space where different winemakers work side by side, letting people create labels and sell wine without actually owning land or growing grapes. That detail makes some people question whether this kind of arrangement connects to the business dispute he faced, where another company claimed, "We produced the wine for you, we bought the grapes for you, and even after $900,000, we still haven't been paid." He may have resolved the issue eventually, but only after more fraud accusations appeared, pulling other vendors into the controversy. I also remember a New York Times report from 2018 that touched on similar worries, tying into the broader discussion that wineries can sometimes be convenient places to mask suspicious financial activity. Critics argue that in this case, there was no real vineyard, no grapes, and no true wine operation, just outsourcing to another company that provided a label, allowing someone to appear like a winery owner on paper. Looking back at the filings, that's the strange picture that keeps showing up. The filing forms for E Street, also called Easy Street Winery, and even once referred to as E Street Crew, claim the business was earning around $15,000, yet reports suggest it had already shut down, which only deepens the mystery. The Santa Rosa address itself seems less like a winery and more like a factory-style facility where multiple winemakers operate under one roof, leaving many people asking what was really happening. Adding to the scrutiny is another lawsuit involving fraud claims, where an investor said he was promised an unbelievable 200% return, something that should immediately raise red flags. The investor reportedly put in about $300,000 chasing those promises, later alleging that Timmy Monet and an associate deceived him and that his principal investment disappeared. In court, they argued that the dispute was simply a contract disagreement, and eventually the money was returned, but the investor maintained that it still felt deceptive, and cases like this have repeatedly fueled scrutiny. At the same time, serious questions surround the claim that his firm manages $60 billion, which would rank it among the largest venture capital operations globally. Critics contend it functions more like a lobbying network, spanning dozens of countries, and called the $60 billion figure unrealistic. These financial concerns also tie into broader accusations of money laundering, with attention drawn to cash-heavy systems such as Hawala networks, sometimes used in immigrant communities, including Minneapolis, where large sums can circulate outside traditional banking channels. Years ago, the Treasury Department confirmed that several individuals I had reported on as suspected terrorist funders were officially designated as terrorist financiers, their accounts frozen and entry into the country blocked. My reporting revealed that significant sums were being sent back to one of the largest funding networks for Hezbollah and Hamas outside Iran, tracing back to a remote village called Sierra de Paraguay, in a jungle-like region near the borders of Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina. According to reports, this network made the funds extremely difficult for authorities to track, particularly since cash was heavily involved, with claims that as much as $700 million was moved in suitcases, and Minneapolis, home to one of the nation's busiest airports, became a major hub. Between 2024 and 2025, roughly $700 million was allegedly transferred to the Middle East, often routed through destinations like Dubai, using informal systems like Hawala that operate outside conventional banking, allowing groups to move money with minimal records while often taking a portion of the funds along the way.
Here's what we know. She went from zero to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in a year. I don't know many people that go from 0 to 30 without having a legitimate business.
He insists he doesn't believe the situation is being handled honestly, pointing to claims that this man hasn't even paid certain taxes, with figures like $43,000 being mentioned in connection to his venture firm, which raises questions about how such a business could operate under that kind of cloud. He argues that bringing these issues up with Ilhan Omar often leads to accusations of bias rather than direct answers, which he says makes it difficult to have a real discussion. In his view, the larger concern is her association with someone who has faced repeated fraud allegations, including complaints from investors dating back to his time in industries like cannabis and later the wine business. He portrays the man as having a long record of controversy and suggests that this history continues to follow them, adding to public suspicion. He also frames Omar's personal life as complicated, pointing to unanswered questions from earlier relationships and suggesting that her marriage has only intensified the scrutiny surrounding her and her husband's past.
There's another word for it called crooked, and that's why we have to have an investigation into this. As you know, the Biden administration started examining her finances and that of her husband, and so surprise, surprise, that investigation went nowhere. But it's amazing how people can go into Congress and then become these entrepreneurial investing geniuses, where they come in, she had under $1,000 of net worth and her husband didn't have much, and suddenly now they're multimillionaires. Is there a money laundering operation here? And in terms of the firms themselves, they have a sketchy background. That winery in California that she and her husband own, where did that come from? Where's the wine there? Nobody can seem to find it. So there's a lot of smelly stuff here, and that's why in the American Dream, her version of the American Dream is the Al Capone version of the American Dream, Tony Soprano version of the American Dream, and that is steal it from the taxpayers. And so there's a lot of stuff here, and so when somebody cloaks themselves in the American Dream, and so you have numbers like this, from minus 1,000 to 30, 40 million, you know something is not right.
I'm seeing your comments live, and Don Baca is pointing out just how wild the markets are right now, with silver shooting up and then dropping hard, while Bitcoin is bouncing around under $68,000 like a roller coaster ride. It's definitely a chaotic moment. And if you're trying to build wealth the steady, old-fashioned way, you need patience and awareness because volatility is back in full force. That's why I mentioned looking at balanced model portfolios like the ones at 76research.com, not because anyone is promising unrealistic 200% returns, but because real investing takes discipline, not fantasy numbers. Still, the conversation quickly swings back to Ilhan Omar, and the speaker argues she's facing growing scrutiny, saying federal officials are paying closer attention to fraud-related concerns, with new leadership and investigations being discussed at high levels. He claims Omar avoids answering accusations directly and instead focuses on political slogans, while critics continue asking about financial dealings involving her husband, including reports that nearly $3 million was paid to him over about 2 years, with his compensation rising sharply after their marriage. The speaker portrays this as highly suspicious, suggesting it looked like money being funneled back to herself, and claims these questions have been circulating for some time, even under the Biden administration, though he argues politics and fear of backlash made officials hesitant to act. He also notes how sensitive the issue becomes in Minnesota, where Somali voters are an important part of the political landscape, but concludes that Omar may soon face intense national attention, with her critics insisting she can't rely on accusations of bias alone to escape the financial questions being raised.
We cannot allow federal agency, one that was created for the purpose to terrorize, to function as an occupying force in our community. Real accountability starts with abolishing ICE, impeaching Kristi Noem, and rethinking how we enforce immigration policy in this country.
I'm still laughing at Easy Street. The fact that his company was named E Street, Easy Street. Whoa, after all, there are many of them. That's a lot, all right, and we will keep working on it because I think this should be made public. Every last bit of it.